Hi, I'm Kelly, and this is the owner's class for your Singer Promise 2 1512 sewing machine. Today we're going to go through some of the basics of your new machine, like how to thread your machine, how to wind your first bobbin, how to select a stitch, and also how to make a buttonhole. With your machine, you get an instruction manual full of information, so you definitely want to make sure that you keep this somewhere handy. You also get the Quick Start Guide, which helps you get threaded for the first time. Let's start by taking a look at your machine. To the right of your machine is a port for your power cord and your foot control. So we're just going to plug that in, and now we can turn the machine on using the switch. Above that is your hand wheel. Your hand wheel is used to raise and lower your take-up lever. You always want to turn the wheel toward yourself or counterclockwise. This is your stitch plate. Above that is your presser foot and your machine needle. We can raise and lower our presser foot using your presser foot lifter. When we're not sewing, for example, when we're threading our machine, we want to make sure that our presser foot and our presser foot lifter are up. But when we go to sew, we always want to have our presser foot down. In the front of your machine is a removable storage compartment. So when we take that off, now we can see where your bobbin is housed. So this is your bobbin case. This is also, you can now see your free arm of your machine. So if you're wanting to hem a pair of pants or sew a shirt cuff, the fabric will move underneath. In your storage compartment are some included accessories, like some extra needles, some extra bobbins, a screwdriver, and some feet. The zipper foot is used for sewing zippers into your projects. You can also use this foot to make and insert piping. This is the buttonhole foot. Use this foot along with the stitch selector dial to sew a buttonhole in just 4 easy steps. Sew buttons on your projects with the button sewing foot. Your button is held firmly in place as the machine attaches the button to your project with a zigzag stitch. To make our buttonhole, we first need to remove our current presser foot, and that's super easy to do. There's a little button on the back of your ankle, and all you have to do is just press it toward the ankle. And now our foot drops, and we can remove it. In your accessories is your buttonhole foot. And you can tell that it's your buttonhole foot. It has a large letter B at the top. And it's important to place your buttonhole foot with the B facing you in the right way. And you'll note the red guides are in the front and the B is behind. So now to place our foot on our machine, we're just going to lower our presser foot lifter until we catch that metal bar. Sometimes it can take a couple of times. And now it's attached and we can lift up our presser foot. Before stitching out our buttonhole, let's mark where we want our buttonhole to be. You can place your button on your fabric and then use a marking pencil or pen. And I'm going to mark at the bottom of my button and then at the top of my button. And now I can move that away, and then just using a ruler, you'll mark where you want the center of your buttonhole to be. And you see it makes the letter I. So now let's go back to our machine. Now let's make a buttonhole. Your machine has a 4-step buttonhole, and it's super easy. All we have to do is turn to our buttonhole stitches, and this is step number 1. So we'll line that up, and now let's sew that out. Our buttonhole will start stitching at the bottom of our eye. So we're going to push our buttonhole foot, the front of it, all the way to the back. And now we'll slide our fabric under our foot, and we're going to use the bottom of our eye to line up our buttonhole foot through the center underneath our needle. When you feel like you have that in place, we can lower our presser foot. We have our stitch selection set to step 1, and now we can start sewing. And we just want to sew 6 to 8 stitches, whatever you feel comfortable, that creates the bottom bar tack of your buttonhole. We want to make sure that our needle is in its highest position before we start the next step. And you don't need to lift the presser foot, just leave it where it is. Now we're going to use our dial and turn to step 2 to make the second step of our buttonhole. And now you want to turn your dial to step 2 of the buttonhole. And now we're going to press our foot control. And we're going to look for we're just going to follow along until we see the top of our eye, and then we'll stop. And now we'll make sure our needle is in its highest position again. We'll turn to step 3 of our buttonhole on our stitch selection dial, and then we'll sew 6 to 8 stitches again. We'll raise our needle, and now we're going to turn to step 4 and the final step of our buttonhole. And we will sew this all the way till we reach the end of our buttonhole. And now again, we want to make sure that our needle is in its highest position. We're going to raise our presser foot. To finish our buttonhole, we need to get a hand needle. We'll use our finishing thread here, and we'll thread the end of the eye of our hand needle, and then we're going to sew that thread down from the top and through the bottom of our fabric to tack our buttonhole down and to make sure that it doesn't unravel. A quick tip when opening your buttonhole is to use a straight pin under the top of your bar tack. And then you can use the seam ripper that's included with your machine. And starting at the bottom, you can just cut all the way to the top. And the pin won't allow you to cut over your bar tack stitches at the top. So now we have an open buttonhole.
Wait, you haven't seen the best part yet. Here are some amazing offers and specials available for one time only. You can't afford to miss it.